This is something people have been asking me to talk about for years. I always brushed it off, laughed it away, told myself it wasn't worth reopening those memories. But the truth is, no matter how much time passes, certain moments never really leave you. They sit quietly in the back of your mind, waiting for the smallest trigger to drag you right back into them. These are 3 real stories. All of them happened during school lockdowns, and every single one of them made me realize just how thin the line is between a normal day and absolute terror. The first one started like the most boring day imaginable. It was calculus class, Friday 7th period, the kind of class where everyone is half dead staring at the clock, counting down the minutes until the weekend finally frees you. Spring break was coming up, so nobody could sit still. Legs were bouncing, chairs were squeaking, whispers were floating around the room. We didn't have a test that day, which already put us in a good mood. Our teacher was known for being relaxed, almost too relaxed. He understood senior year burnout better than anyone. So instead of forcing us through another lesson, he pulled up Sporkle on the projector. "All right," he said casually, "let's waste some time." We laughed. Phones came out. Someone shouted answers across the room. It was one of those rare moments where school didn't feel like a prison. We were doing a brand logo quiz. Easy stuff. Nike, Apple, McDonald's. Then my friend raised his hand and confidently answered a D. That exact moment is burned into my memory. Because before the teacher could even click next, the intercom crackled to life. At first it was just static. Then the dean's voice came through the loudspeaker. I'd heard his voice 1,000 times before. Announcements, assemblies, reminders about dress code. This time was different. He wasn't calm. He wasn't professional. He sounded terrified. "Well, teachers, this is not a drill. Initiate lockdown immediately." The room went dead silent. I felt a cold wave wash over my body. My arms broke out in goose. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Our teacher froze for half a second. Then panic took over. He rushed to the door, slammed it shut, turned off the lights, and motioned for us to move. Back corner. Now, we crowded. Together, backs against the wall, knees pulled to our chests. No one spoke. No one even dared to breathe loudly. 2 minutes passed, then we heard it. The faint electrical buzzing from the panel in the back of the classroom suddenly stopped. The power was cut. That's when it truly hit us. This wasn't some drill, and this wasn't some misunderstanding. Something was very, very wrong. We exchanged glances in the darkness, eyes wide, faces pale. You could practically feel fear thickening the air. A few minutes later, a sound echoed down the hallway. Screaming, not yelling, not shouting. Screaming raw, unhinged, full of rage. It was getting closer. Someone in our class started shaking. 2 girls began crying quietly, trying to cover their mouths with their hands. The sound of the screams grew louder, closer, more violent. Then came the banging. Metal lockers rattled as something or someone slammed into them with full force. "I'll kill all of you." The words echoed through the hallway like a threat meant just for us. My stomach dropped. My hands were trembling. For the first time in my life, the thought crossed my mind that I might not make it out of school alive. Our teacher whispered, "Stay quiet," his voice barely steady. The banging moved closer, locker to locker. Then it stopped. For a split second, there was silence. And then the pounding hit our classroom door. The entire room flinched. One of the girls screamed "No" before anyone could stop her. The man outside laughed a horrible broach sound and started slamming the door even harder. "Open up." The door shook in its frame. Each impact felt like it was hitting my chest. Time stretched and warped. Seconds felt like minutes. Minutes felt endless. Then, suddenly, it stopped. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. The screaming faded, slowly dissolving into the distance. We sat there frozen, afraid to move, afraid to hope. About 10 minutes later, though, it felt like an eternity, the intercom came back on. But Dean spoke again, this time trying to sound composed. He explained that a mentally unstable man had entered the building. He assaulted the woman at the front desk, causing her to flee. Staff didn't know if he was armed. Back then, the school had no cameras, no real security. Anyone could walk in. They couldn't find him. Classes were told to resume, but doors had to stay locked. No student was allowed to leave under any circumstances. We thought it was over. It wasn't. That night, a janitor working the late shift found a man sleeping inside a storage closet at the back of the school. According to rumors, a .44 Magnum was sticking out of his pocket. By the time police arrived, the man was gone. To this day, none of us know if he was ever caught. And that was just the first lockdown. If the first lockdown taught me fear, the second one taught me something worse: helplessness. This one happened years earlier, back when I was still in middle school. My school had 2 lunch periods. The first lunch was for all 6th graders and some 7th graders. Second lunch was for the rest of the 7th graders and all 8th graders. The lockdown happened in early October. I remember the weather clearly. The sky was dark and overcast, the kind of day where everything feels heavier for no reason. It had been raining on and off since morning, and thunder had been rumbling in the distance. I was in first lunch. The cafeteria was loud, chaotic, full of kids yelling across tables, trays slamming, chairs scraping the floor. Just normal school noise. Nothing felt off, nothing felt dangerous. Then I heard it. For loud booms, deep, sudden. My first thought was thunder. That made sense. It was raining, after all. But the sound didn't echo like thunder usually does. It felt closer, sharper. Before I could even finish that thought, the entire lunchroom erupted. Kids started screaming. Not laughing screams, real screams, panic screams. Chairs toppled over. Trays clattered to the floor. People started running without knowing where they were going. For a split second, I honestly thought kids were just being stupid, overreacting like kids always do. Then campus security burst through the doors. Everyone into the multi-purpose room. Now, their voices weren't calm. They were shouting, angry, urgent. That's when fear hit me. The kids, who were still in line buying lunch, were forced to throw their food away and run inside. No one was allowed to take anything with them. No phones, no backpacks. Just move. I stuck with a group of friends as we were herded down the hallway and into the multi-purpose room. It was massive, one of the biggest rooms on campus. Assemblies, performances, testing, everything happened there. The back wall was made entirely of glass. As soon as we were rushed inside, adults began pulling the heavy curtains across the glass. Others stood at every exit, blocking the doors, watching us like hawks. Everyone was whispering. What happened was that gunshots. Is this a drill? No one have answers. My friend Eric was braver or dumber than the rest of us. He walked up to one of the adults and asked what was going on. When he came back, his face was pale. You know those houses right in front of the school? He asked quietly. Yeah, I said, there's a guy over there. He barricaded himself in front of his house. He's threatening to kill himself. And the cops, they're trying to evict him. The room went silent around us as people leaned in to listen. Eric continued, his voice shaking. Teachers said he was walking around outside the school earlier, watching kids. That alone made my stomach turn. But it got worse. Apparently, Eric added, barely above a whisper, he's a registered sex offender. A cold, sick feeling settled in my chest. We were stuck in that room for an hour. An entire hour of sitting on the floor, backs against the wall, listening. 2 whispers and rumors spread like wildfire. Every time someone near the curtains flinched, everyone else jumped. Every sound from outside made hearts race. 2 class periods passed. Eventually, teachers came in and told us things were handled. We were escorted back to our classrooms one by one, like prisoners being moved. No one talked. Later that day, I found out something that made it all feel even more real. My friend Brandy lived next door to that man. She told us about the previous Halloween. She had been walking home when she noticed something strange in his window. At first, she thought it was just decorations. Fake blood, fake writing. Then, she realized it wasn't fake. He had been cutting his arm and using his own blood to write messages on the window. Don't come here or I'll kill you. Because it was Halloween, people laughed it off, thought it was some sick joke. Some extreme degradation. After the lockdown, no one laughed anymore. We all realized how close that danger really was. How thin the wall was between normal school day and something unspeakable. And the scariest part, that man never even entered the school. He didn't have to. Just knowing he was watching us from outside was enough. By the time the 3rd lockdown happened, I thought I understood fear. I was wrong. By the time the 3rd lockdown happened, I was older, wiser maybe, less naive. I'd already been through enough school scares to tell myself I could handle anything. Lockdowns were just procedures, protocols. You follow instructions, you wait it out, and eventually someone comes on the loudspeaker and tells you everything is fine. That's what I told myself. I was wrong. I was 22 years old, fresh out of college when I got a job at my old high school as a computer intern. It felt surreal being back in the same building, walking the same hallways, except this time with a staff badge instead of a backpack. Most of my work was done in the school basement. The basement was a mess, wires, boxes, old equipment stacked everywhere, but there was one small office down there that felt like a hidden oasis. 3 desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat-screen TV mounted on the wall, and best of all, air conditioning, a luxury the students and most teachers never got to enjoy. I got the job because 3 of my old computer teachers absolutely loved me. We'd stayed in touch after graduation, and they went out of their way to help me land the position. Dave and Gary, the 2 other guys who shared the office with me, were both solid people, easy to work with, easy to talk to. Everything was great, until a few weeks into the job. It was a normal day. Nothing unusual. I was sitting at my desk during my lunch break eating a sandwich and scrolling through my phone. When it rang, it was one of the women from the front office. Her voice was tight, controlled, too controlled. We're on lockdown, she said. Is someone in the building? Possibly armed? My stomach instantly nodded. I asked what I was supposed to do. but the call ended before I could get an answer. I looked around the office. That's when reality sank in. As nice as the office was, it had one massive floor. It didn't have an actual door, just a wide opening leading into the basement. And the door to the basement itself. The lock had been broken for years. I was completely exposed. All I could do was turn off the lights. I shut down my computer monitor, killed the TV, and plunged the office into darkness. I left my phone on the desk, screen dimmed, and started texting Dave and Gary. No response. I sat there in the dark, barely breathing, trying to distract myself by playing games on my phone. Minutes crawled by, 10, 15, 20. No updates. No sounds from upstairs, nothing. Then I heard it. The basement door creaked open, the sound echoing unnaturally loud in the empty space. The hinges groaned as if they hadn't been used in years. Footsteps followed. Fast. Heavy someone was running down the stairs. My heart slammed against my ribs. I pushed my chair back as quietly as I could and dropped to the floor, crawling under my desk. I pressed myself against the wall, holding my breath. The footsteps reached the office. Someone stepped inside. They didn't turn on the lights, they just stood there in complete silence. I don't think I've ever been that scared in my entire life. My mind was racing, imagining every possible outcome. If I made a noise, I was dead. If I didn't, I might still be dead. Then my phone vibrated, a text message. The sound felt deafening in the silence. I clenched my teeth, my entire body tensing. Footsteps shifted, moving closer to my desk. That's when I broke. I dove out from under the desk, hands raised, voice shaking as I begged whoever it was not to kill me. Someone grabbed my arm and yanked me to my feet. It was a man I'd never seen before. He was wearing a red plaid button-up shirt, jeans, and a reddish-black cap. Hey, it's okay, he said quickly. I'm just hiding too. My head was spinning. What's going on up there? I whispered. He ignored the question. Is there another exit down here? He asked. I pointed vaguely toward the other side of the basement. Before he could move, I asked, who are you? There was a pause. Then he said he was there to pick up his son. A teacher told him to hide when the lockdown started. Something felt off. I looked down at my phone. The text message had finally come through. It was from Dave. Dude, this is F. *****ing. Crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and a hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs. My blood ran cold. I slowly looked up at the man standing in front of me. Red shirt, red hat. He noticed my stare. His expression changed. That's when I ran. A gunshot exploded through the basement. The sound was deafening, violent, final. I heard the bullet ricochet off metal somewhere in the darkness, missing me by sheer luck. Didn't look back. I sprinted up the stairs, lungs burning, legs screaming. When I burst through the basement exit, police officers were already there, guns raised. They caught him the second he tried to follow. Mr. Buckley survived the gunshot. It was later revealed the man had some kind of personal grudge against him, though no one ever explained why. All I know is that the sound of that gunshot will echo in my mind for the rest of my life after that day. Lockdown stopped feeling like drills. Every alarm, every announcement, every sudden noise, it will take me right back. People like to believe schools are safe places, and most of the time, they are. But these experiences taught me something I'll never forget. Danger doesn't always look like danger. Sometimes it looks like a normal Friday afternoon. Sometimes it sounds like thunder. Sometimes it wears a red shirt and tells you everything is okay. And sometimes it's already inside the building.